Hey everyone, Carl back with Littleroot Lessons, bringing you a deep dive featuring Salamence. Salamence is a very interesting Pokemon, seeing that it saw a lot of play in older formats, not so much in Sword and Shield, but it had access to different moves back then, so we can kind of take a look at what Salamence has access to today, kind of look at it and see how it shapes up and lines up in the format. Remember to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications for when new videos go live. Leave a comment down below who do you want to see me cover next week. I know one of the Pokemon I'm looking at covering is Blastoise. Blastoise had a great Players' Cup 4 performance, so I kind of want to take a focus on that. So I'd like to hear your comments on what you think would be a good pairing to cover alongside Blastoise, or just other Pokemon you thought did really well at PC4 that were kind of unexpected. So Salamence. Salamence is a very powerful Pokemon, and the fact that it has unique roles that it fills on teams, having access to its ability Intimidate and having access to a slew of different coverage moves means it can kind of just do whatever it wants a lot of the time. It's got a very high special attack stat, a really high attack stat on top of that, and it's at that base 100 speed, which is the kind of the base bar of like, this is going to be a viable speed tier. So it does a lot of things that other Pokemon do, kind of like Landorus and Incineroar with Intimidate, but still has that other pressure of I actually can deal damage to a bunch of different types because I'm the pseudo-legendary dragon-flying Pokemon from Gen 3. So Salamence kind of fell flat when it got introduced into Sword and Shield. Via the Crown Tundra DLC, it didn't take off. It was much more of a bag-on than it was a Salamence. It saw some fringe play as a fast bulldoze user, but as Spectrier and other faster bulldozers kind of got introduced in the format, Salamence kind of got pushed to the wayside and hasn't really seen a ton of play yet. This means that there's a ton of potential for Salamence though, because as a outside player, I don't get to play a lot, but I get to see trends and things like that. Not seeing Salamence means that the average player isn't going to know what Salamence does for the team. Yes, people may just like guess that it does bulldoze things, but you could have a very offensive Salamence. You could have a support Salamence with breaking swipe and things like that. So you get to kind of play this mind game a little bit of what does Salamence actually do. So common partners for Salamence. Salamence has really big weakness to ice. Glastrier is the dominant force in the Series 9 format right now, and it kind of pushes away a lot of Pokemon, Salamence included, so having partners that can deal with Glastrier are important. Things like Metagross, Urshifu, other fighting types, steel types, fire types, things like that. According to Archidex, other common partners are things like Rillaboom, Porygon 2, Regieleki, Blastoise, which I'm not sure where all this data comes from, but it just happens to be what's common with. The Porygon 2 kind of makes sense, like a fast mode, slow mode kind of thing. The Rillaboom doesn't make as much sense because that means you have another ice weakness. Blastoise is a little iffy too. I'm not sure where all these partners come from, but if they work, they apparently work. So looking at the common moves for Salamence, for a Pokemon that has been played a whole lot, there's a lot of moves here. Everything ranging from Air Slash, Draco Meteor as a special Salamence, to Rock Slide, Earthquake as a physical Salamence, Hydro Pump, Breaking Swipe, Hurricane, Fly, Heat Wave, Dragon Dance, Protect. The list here is just ginormous, and I could spend all day just talking about the different Salamence sets you can run. Looking over at items, it's a little bit more concise. It's a little bit nicer to look at. Assault Vest, Safety Goggles, Life Orb, these are all in the 20%. These are probably the big three common items you'll see. Lumberry is kind of unique here. You don't normally think of Salamence as this Dynamax offensive threat, but with moves like Dragon Dance, you can set up a Dragon Dance next side to, say, a Togekiss or some other redirector, and now you're at +1 attack, +1 speed, and you can just blow up everything when you Dynamax. And Lumberry kind of helps play around with burns and stuff like that. Weakness policy here at 11%, things like Quick Attack from Sylveon, Ice Shard, if you really, really get desperate, can do that too. And then Citrus Berry here at 8%, it's more for supporty style sets, things like with max speed, max HP with Leer, things like that, so kind of cool to just kind of see what all Salamence can do here. For building with Salamence, you're looking for unique Intimidators. Salamence fits the bill. not everybody remembers that Salamence just happens to have Intimidate. It's kind of like Gyarados in the fact that it gets pushed out of the meta because of certain Pokemon. I think Gyarados' Regieleki is the same as Glastrier is to Salamence. And because Salamence can kind of fit into these teams fairly easily, it doesn't have to do a whole lot of like, I have to build X, Y, and Z to make Salamence work. It's more of, I happen to have Metagross, and I'm happy to using Spectrier, but I need Intimidate, and I need Fast Bulldoze. Well, Salamence kind of fits the bill there, and it just kind of works. However, there's teams where Salamence doesn't really fit in. Things like Trick Room. You don't want to just kind of slam Salamence into it and hope for the best. Salamence is still fairly frail, and you don't want to try and just shove it into whatever team you can think of. And look for ways for offensive Salamence to kind of take over games. Its other abilities, Moxie, meaning it just takes over games when you get to Dynamax and Snowball. Like I mentioned earlier, you can do a Dragon Dance, Dynamax, start taking over the game that way. Speaking of Dynamax Dragon Dance sets, I've got a couple sets here that I like a lot. I wouldn't say they're the best sets in the world because they're very standard, but I really like the Lumberry set, and we'll get to that one in a second. But the first set is the very standard Assault Vest set. Max Special Attack, Max Speed, Timid Nature, looking to Bulldoze, activate a Weakness Policy. You have Hurricane, Draco Meteor, Heat Wave. If you need to Dynamax this thing, you can. Heat Wave's strictly there to help beat up against opposing Steel types and Ice types that can cause problems for Salamence. The Citrus Berry set here is a very supporty set. Things like Breaking Swipe, Brick Break, Leer. Never underestimate the power of a fast Leer alongside something like a Landorus, or another physical attacker like a Metagross or Urshifu. That fast Leer is going to actually ruin you, and you could lose the game very, very quickly. Following up with that, another Salamence that could just take over the game is this Lumberry Moxie set. So you are max speed adamant. So the idea here is you get to go, I'm going to click Dragon Dance on turn 1 alongside a Redirector, or if they don't have a thing that scares Salamence, you can put in something else like a Rillaboom, something with Fake Out. Anything that keeps your Salamence alive for the duration of that turn while it clicks that Dragon Dance. And then you're at, I think it's 150 something at +1, so you end up being like almost 200, and you just outspeed almost the entire format. Plus, you're an adamant nature, so you do a ton of damage. You get to Dynamax, Max Whirlwind, Max Airstream, Max Rock Fall to just kind of pick up on Ice types and Flying types that are popular in the format. This Salamence is looking for KOs. It is looking to take over the game. This is your I'm going to win button most of the time. Salamence, unfortunately, is 4 times weak to Ice. So beating up Salamence, like I mentioned with a Glastrier, or Ice Punch off Metagross, Ice Punch off Regirock. I could list Ice-type moves. Porygon 2 has Ice Beam. Blizzard on Octillery from one of Carter's teams that he had was talking about with me the other day. Ice is very popular coverage type, so unfortunately this means Salamence almost always gets beat up by some Pokemon on the opponent's team. And outspeeding Salamence is very easy now. It doesn't have access to Tailwind anymore, so it doesn't get to double its speed like it did in older formats, where nowadays it's like, if you have Tailwind, you can guarantee outspeed Salamence, or just play Regieleki. Regieleki outspeeds Salamence naturally no matter what, even at +1 after Dragon Dance, so you can easily just Electro Web it back down to neutral, or just double Thunderbolt it, because it's going to take a ton of damage from just neutral Thunderbolt. Speaking of neutral hits, anything that's just going to hit Salamence for neutral damage is going to be really, really good. Things like, I'm trying to think of it, electric ones specifically, anything that's not fire, grass, water, stuff like that. You can easily take out a Salamence just by chipping away at it, and make sure to chip at it every chance you get. So wrapping up with Salamence here, Salamence has had a lot of good things going for it, but the format's kind of just said no. Everything has easy access to Ice and Rock types a lot of the time, which Salamence doesn't like. Regieleki being in the format's also a problem, just because everything's trying to outspeed it, so Salamence's speed tier isn't the greatest, and it's more of the baseline. However, with good team building, I think Salamence can actually kind of cement a spot in the format and be this unique intimidator with things like Bulldoze or the Dragon Dance Moxie set, and can kind of help push its way into the format, even though it's got a very hard hill to climb. So with that being said, I want to thank everyone for hanging out and listening to me ramble about Salamence today. Make sure to check us out on Twitter. Handles are there on screen. Check out the Discord link in the description down below. And remember to subscribe. It's free and it helps us out a ton. Remember to leave a like on the video. It helps with the YouTube algorithm. Comment down below who you want to see me cover next week. And have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you're at in the world. And we will see you all on Friday with Regirock. Bye, guys.